Hello students, welcome to today's class. In today's class, we'll study about the manufacture, storage, imports of the hazardous chemicals amendment rule of 2000. Okay, so as any other law, this particular rule also stems from the 1986 EPA Act. Okay, Environmental Protection Act of 1986. So in this class, you'll study, first of all, very important thing that you must know is what's the meaning of hazardous. So we'll see what is the meaning of hazardous. What are the characteristics on the basis of which you classify that particular substance as hazardous? So that we'll see. And then in this act, you'll also come across various like occupiers, like there are several authorities. So what are the duties of these? So duties of various authorities and also occupiers. So what are these? We'll study in the following slides. Okay, and then since we are talking about hazardous chemical, accidents are bound to happen, so we'll see what sort of accidents can happen and what can we do to control these accidents. Okay, moreover, we will also see what about different schedules and norms that are also mentioned in this particular rule of 2000. So that we'll see, and then we'll also see how this particular rules, how these rules are actually enforced, and then we are also going to see the penalties and other miscellaneous stuffs related to this particular act. I hope you have set the outline of this. Now we'll start with the next slide where we'll see what exactly are hazardous materials. So if you want to quantify what is the meaning of hazardous materials, so simply material that can cause adverse effect on human health and environment and property, right? So there are certain characteristics defined, like you have toxicity. Let me write here. Toxicity, toxicity, right? That actually can cause what? Poisoning or any other serious health issue. So toxic means that. Okay. And then it could also be corrosive. Corrosive means what? It can damage your skin, eyes, or material as well. Okay. So that is what is known as corrosive. And then it can be flammable. Flammable means flammable or explosive. See, this is the a sign of explosive. So it means that it can be easily ignited, okay, or it has the capability of any sort of explosion. And then you can also write reactive, means basically this particular chemical is unstable and it can react dangerously with any other substance, be it your water, air, right? So that, and it could also be irritant. Irritant means it can cause irritation. Irritation where? On your skin, in your eyes, right? So these kind of things. Then this can also be sensitizer. Sensitizer means what? It can cause certain allergies, okay, whenever you are actually exposed to them. And then they can also be carcinogen, mutagen. Let me write carcinogen, that can potentially cause cancer, mutagen, and teratogen. Okay, so cancer causing a genetic mutation and can also cause the reproductive harm, that is teratogens. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now you can actually define what are these, how you can actually define if any chemical is hazardous or not. So if we just have to give some examples, like you have lead, right? Heavy metals, all the heavy metals basically, mercury, right? And you have asbestos. You have so many other solvents like acetone. So that can also be hazardous. You must have heard about VOCs, volatile organic carbons, right? And even in your day-to-day life, in your daily household thing, you can see disinfectants. They can also sometimes be hazardous. Even your detergents, paints, your fuels, so they can be hazardous, right? And when we talk about healthcare, then you must have heard about um formaldehyde, which is basically used as a preservative, right? Okay, so these things and ethylene dioxide, right? I'm giving you a few examples so you can just cite this wherever required. Okay, I hope this is very clear. What exactly is the meaning of hazardous material in common? And then you also have seen a few examples of hazardous chemical specifically that we have to deal today. Okay, let's move. All right, so this is the view of the original document, okay, that actually came in the year 1989. So today we are reading the amendments rule of 2000, okay. So the original came in the year 1989. After that you have the amended rule of 2000s, okay. So this is what we are going to study today. So we all know that the first part is always preliminary. Here we talk about what's the name of the rule, right? So name of the rule is what? Manufacture, storage, imports of chemical, hazardous chemical, amendment rule of 2000. Okay, and then what is the commencement date? What is the commencement date? It's going to be 19th January 2000. Okay, so that is your commencement date, and it also talks about a little bit about the definition. Like, for example, the amendment here, this amendment specifically, it clarified what is meant by hazardous chemical. So, hazardous chemical, as we just saw, basically any chemical that poses risk to human health, plants, and animals, and environment overall. Whenever they are released beyond the limit. So here is the keyword, beyond the limit, then you can term these chemicals as hazardous in nature. Okay, so there are also certain like other words also that has been defined, like for example major accidents. We just saw in our previous slide that today we are going to study about the major accident also. So how you're going to define that, what is the meaning of major accident? So that has also been defined in this very introduction only. So major accident means what? Means any event that involves the hazardous material which can result in any serious loss of life, injury, or let's say damage to any property, and also the environment. So this reminds me of a very important and very famous accident of Bhopal gas tragedy of 1984. So this is the classic example of major accident. Okay, again, this happened because of what? This happened because of a hazardous chemical, methyl isocyanate, right? So that, okay. So, and it also defines a few terms like pipeline. Pipeline. Pipeline means what? Pipeline transporting the hazardous chemical. It's as simple as that. Okay, whether it's going to be interstate or within the state, that is what we call as intrastate. Okay, and it also talks about one more word, that is isolated storage. This is also very important. Okay, so here we have seen a few words, that what is the meaning of hazardous material, what constitutes the accident, okay, and then now we'll see what's the meaning of pipeline, and we'll see now what's the meaning of isolated storage. Isolated storage means what? Means which refers to a place where hazardous chemicals are, stored in bulk, okay, but not directly that are connected to manufacturing process. Okay, like you can talk about gas depot. Okay, gas depot. So here your hazardous chemical can be stored, but they are not directly used. Okay, or gas depot, or you can in general say any chemical warehouse. Okay, so in this we have basically talked about a few important definition that we are going to use in our successive slides. That's why